Okay, on to our next story for the day. What are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about Finland's Wolt. This is the name of a food delivery app. Raises $530 million in venture capital to try to take on Amazon. I thought this was interesting to talk about because, we don't really talk about companies in Finland. Like we talk about companies in, the United States and, Europe, I guess, but we don't talk about, I don't know. Finland is not one of the big hot tech startup scenes. So because of this, I wanted to get a little bit more educated on what Finland is trying to do over there, what they're actually trying to get done. So the funding round in the 6-year-old company was led by ICO Capital, and it brings total investment in the firm to $856 million. So there's been $850 million bucks poured into this company. Pretty big deal, if you ask me. Wolt did not disclose its latest valuation, but it said it will use the money to continue expanding beyond restaurants. So essentially, it's a food delivery app, right? And this is really important to me and unique to me because the CEO said, we are huge believers that the next wave of e-commerce will go from same week and same day delivery to delivery within the next 30 minutes or so as the standard. That's what we're focused on building in all of our markets, starting with the restaurant. Why is this important to talk to about? Two things. A, Amazon has fundamentally ushered in a new era of how consumers try and eventually get an experience with a product. Before Amazon, there was no get your product in 2 days, right? And now if you delayed even more than a week, you're probably not going to get repeat business. Like your product has to be pretty special for people to wait. I feel like my hair is crazy, but for people to wait a large amount of time in order to get their product. And the real unique thing about this is now companies in Finland, right, that are not the hot tech startup capitals of the world, are actually able to use Amazon's competitive business model to apply to their same logic. They are literally trying to get your food within the next 30 minutes, right? And I think it's the same sort of idea about how e-commerce is generally trending, which is that companies want to deliver products and services as soon as possible because they know that is the gateway to an effective experience, even more so than the product, right? Like the product matters, but the experience of getting the product, the experience of unboxing the product, the experience of receiving the product within a short amount of time, I think is as important as the actual product itself. And I think companies are recognizing that. The second reason this is important is because restaurants definitely need to innovate, right? Restaurants absolutely need to innovate. COVID created an entire new existential crisis for restaurants, primarily based off this thesis that people aren't going to be eating out anymore. Now that's going to go away. Eventually people will come back to be eating out, but for the foreseeable future, that's not going to happen. And because companies are innovating in terms of restaurants and doing more brand partnerships that allow them to actually deliver at an effective and efficient rate, we as consumers are going to become conditioned to want to get our stuff as quick as possible, right? So the point is a foundation is being laid for food delivery services that has already been ushered in through like Uber Eats and Postmates and Grubhub and things of that nature to get your food as soon as possible and to really have as little friction when people are actually going to be able to download the food. Is that what we're calling it? When Wolt launched in Helsinki in 2015, it had 10 restaurants on its platform. By 2016, it had around 100,000 app users and 450 restaurants. And I think the other reason this is so important is just like, that's the type of scale you need to compete with something like Amazon or provide Amazon-like delivery, right? Because Amazon has launched Amazon Go and Amazon with Whole Foods. So that company is trying to really make sure that you can get your food within 30 minutes, within 2 hours, right? That if you live in those big hubs, which is where they're primarily offering service right now, that you can literally have anything delivered to you, especially food related, within minutes, within hours. And that I think is also going to push the barrier for companies that are wanting to get into the direct-to-consumer business when it comes to food delivery to be even higher. And that's the thing about Amazon, bro. Like, Amazon is just a machine. Like the way they have infiltrated markets, the way they have infiltrated the way things operate is just unbelievable to me. I mean, they have literally ushered in the ability for all companies around the world that are delivering anything to recognize that if our logistics aren't up to speed, then it's going to be extremely difficult for people to not go to Amazon and buy their socks. Like if you have a sock brand and you think you have a differentiating variable in your brand and you think that is going to allow you to sell better socks, it's also a question of like how much does your brand matter in comparison to speed of delivery. And if Amazon can get, some socks that maybe aren't the best, but within 2 days and you take 2 weeks, It's hard to win that debate. Like, it's really hard to win that debate. Today, Wolt boasts over 10 million users in 129 cities in 23 countries. It claims to have 27,000 restaurant and retail partners and 50,000 couriers and 2,000 employees. Now, this is important because while Amazon is huge in the US and many other countries, it isn't as well established in some corners of Europe and large swaths of Asia. Enter in Wolt, right? If Amazon isn't dominating these certain sectors, even though their business model is prime to dominate those models, other competitors are going to come up and try to be able to do other things. And the reason for this is because Amazon has literally invested in London's Deliveroo. I didn't even know that was the name of the company, but whatever. Leading a $575 million funding round in exchange for a 16% stake, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if Wolt gets a little bit of money from Amazon, a little bit of an investment. If Amazon can't beat them in the Helsinki market, maybe they just pay $1 billion and take 17% or whatever and own part of the company, so that the delivery infrastructure that they've set up can now be matched with Amazon's technology, and that can be even bigger and bigger and bigger. And as a result, Amazon ends up ruling the world.